Hello, everybody. This is Santa from Santa's Switch Adapted Toys. And I've gotten a request to do some of these other um, interactive toys from Fisher Price, the Link Squad toys. And today we're going to be doing the A to Z Yak. And I have opened this Yak up, and I'm going to say it might be a challenge. It can be done, but there's several steps you need to go through. So when I adapt a toy, I always try to look at what are the most convenient and usable functions that we're going to be able to give for the user. And because of the full alphabet in here, this is not going to work. We're not going to do these, but we do have two options here. One of those options is a dial, which will go through and play some random things. And the second option is a record button. And so we can possibly access those. And you notice these are conveniently located right here on the front of the machine of the toy. However, to get to this area, we have to open up the back. And if you notice, it's in the blue, and all of a sudden you don't see any more blue, or just very limited. So in order to access this, and I've gotten into it already, all the screws for the brown have to be removed. All the screws for the yellow hair have to be removed. All the screws that you see for the blue have to be removed. And if you see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 screws on the bottom. And at the top of the blue, we have we have 1, 2. Guess what? Yep, the other 2 are hidden behind this body here. So we have to gain access to that. So I've removed a whole bunch of screws already from my investigation. But let's open it up and see if we can get to, oops, I missed one. I put a bunch back in so I didn't lose them between the time that I did my investigation until the time that I was getting ready to do this recording. So we'll set this to the side. Now we have the back half of the brown that's got to come off. And let's see, I removed a few of those screws and put them into this jar here. It's always good to have a tub handy. Let's see that one. This one, I think, are the only two that I have not yet removed or had put back in. When we take this off, this handle on the with the beads is going to move. Also, if you notice here, this is the battery compartment and all the other components are on the other side. So having loosened things up. When you take yours apart, it's not going to come apart this easy. Just as a heads up, I did something here that you're going to see, and I didn't put it back together. So there's the battery compartment and the 2 wires that go in to power that. This is going to be attached for you. It's attached because there's these 2 screws and there's 2 tabs up here that have to be pinched and pushed through. Once that's done, this comes off. So there's these 2 tabs that go through these slots here. And so you need to pry that out. Okay, so we're still looking for the switches we're going to do. This is the power on and off switch. Doesn't do us any good, not for adapting. Our switches they're located on the other side of this board, which is still hidden. So we have some more taking apart to do. And that was, let's finish removing the screws out of this bottom blue compartment there. At some point, you might want to pop and remove the power plug. Let's see. Here. Because otherwise, I get this part. Not quite yet. What am I missing? Oh. I did have a couple of screws that I had, like I said, put back in. Anyway, otherwise you're gonna have these. All these parts sticking out at you and you're not gonna be able to get what you need to do. Certainly not easily. Oh, this part yet? Looks like it. Okay. Um. This switch. It just became loose and fell out. That switch is what does go up here. On here when you reassemble it. So don't forget that location. Apparently back at the manufacturer at the plant, manufacturer, they lost that switch. Because when I opened this up, I had another one just like it floating freely in here. So it dropped in and they just left it. And it was extra. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's a bonus, but it's extra. Loose things. This is going to be a problem. Again, it's in the kind of in the loose stuff. Try and get to where we can find these switches now. How to get into the camp. I'm gonna roll this around a couple of times. Okay. So the red power button, I'm gonna remove it so that I can get to this case and behind it. And I'm also gonna remove from the circuit board. From the circuit board, I'm gonna remove the two wires of this plug here, the red one. That represents our power battery pack. I'm going to remove. I've got two others here. You know what? Let's find out if I can remove this easily. We can pry that off of there. If it's no. No, I don't think that comes off easily. It looks like it should. It looks like it's a harness. But it's not. It's not coming off easily. It's soldered, all these solder points are on the other side, so I'm stuck with the constraints of this. So first, let's see what I can do about prying off the power button, the power wires. We're still looking at, by the way, our target is to get this part in here. And it wasn't made easy to do. These plugs, connectors are so tight in here. What have I got? Can I get, let's try the red plug first. There we go. All right, so the battery pack is now disconnected. That helps a lot. What else? This has two connections that come over. They're side by side in the box. On the circuit board, one's red, one's white. One has 5 wires. The other one has 4 wires, so they cannot be accidentally switched. So let's pop that out. And let's pop this out. Okay. Are you still with me? We'll set all those to the side. Now, unfortunately, having done all of that, we can't do a function test on any particular component here because the batteries aren't hooked up anymore. But where are our switches? This ribbon here is for the entire keyboard assembly. And I'm just going to go ahead and take all these off. They will go back on into a predictable location. Maybe not all of them, but enough of them that we can get access to this board and work with it. So the dial and the push button dial. Remove these two screws to move the circuit board. And we're going to get access to both of those switches. Okay. So the push button record is this silicone. You see the two tabs for a silicone switch. I'm sure you're familiar with that by now. And on the other side is that silicone switch. Okay. The dial, as it rotates, has some, let's see, where are they? How do they, oh, it has these two eccentrics out here. And those eccentrics push in this switch here. So if the only thing you want to do is the dial with the eccentrics and activate the switch from here, you can do that using these three or two of these buttons. Okay, now let's see what I've got. So this is, I actually need to hook the power back up, don't I, in order to demonstrate something here. Because the speaker. All right, let's put the power back in. Right, the speaker's over here. Speaker's just blue wire, it's over there. We need that. Let's put the power back on for a moment. And I need this plug back in order to turn the device on. I don't remember, I don't know which one of these is our power button. Device. That didn't do it yet. Okay. Back to here with this one. And did I have it? Yes, I have another one. This may or may not be important. All right, we now have it with activity. So I don't know if you heard anything. Let's try this again. I'm going to roll this over so that we can see that switch right there, and I'll press it. Okay, so it activated. I've got music going on. Okay. So the question, oh, we have lights too. Good. Okay. So the question is, which two of these do we contact for that switch? So I'm going to interrupt that.
When the microphone turns red, Steve, you record and remix. When my microphone turns red, where are all my fans?
I can turn this off now. You're going to attach your adaptive cable to the two that are closest to the side of the board. So these two out here are where the adaptive cable goes to. I'm not going to actually adapt this toy because this is a one-off show and tell. I'm debating as to what to do with it as far as a completed toy. It'll be donated, I think. We'll see how things go. But that's the one for that. Now for the record button. Underneath this pad here is where the contacts are made. We turn this back on. We have the record button here.
Record and remix. When my microphone turns red.
Okay.
Record and remix.
So we might have to remove that silicone pad or the question comes in, can we put our wires soldered in someplace else? As you're probably familiar, I do not like to solder underneath the silicone pad for two reasons. It's very difficult to do that. It can be done, but it's difficult to do it. And it means that you're going to have a non-functioning or potentially a non-functioning button. And I like to keep all of my factory buttons working. So where was it that I saw? I believe that by jumping this from this little silver pad, it did.
Record and remix.
Okay. This little silver pad. And I will put a picture in the good. I'll put a picture of this circuit board up on the screen so you can see it. But there, excuse me, there are two circles, silver circles, one near this edge and one near this edge, that if we were to solder to it, okay, I said I wasn't going to solder anything because I didn't know what was going to be done with this toy, but let's solder. Let's go ahead and adapt this. Where am I going to get access? This is the front of the toy. This lays over here. Base is up that way. If I come into this, I need something where it's real easy to do and keep our wires. I'm going to, on this toy, I'm going to drill. Get the orientation right. I'm going to drill up here. Well, this is going to mean that our wiring is out to the front, but it also means that it's easy to do. Perfect. We need to keep everything compact. If we put it to the back, it would have been almost impossible to have run. Tried to put all this back together. So on my cable, so mono cable, it's only two wires sticking out of it. Stereo cable has three, and you have to figure out which of those three wires activate the toy. I always include a description down in the link, or not a link, but yeah, it is a link. I'm sorry, a link down in the description that shows how to turn a stereo cable into a reliable mono cable for switch adapted toys, because you only need two wires. On this cable, I've also got a strain relief that fits it. I picked those up off of Amazon. There will be a link for those down in in the video description. So we're gonna run this through here. And we are soldering on this side of the board. And we are soldering these two pins. So we need the solder turned on. It's getting close. I'm gonna cut a piece of solder off. And I'm gonna put a dab of solder down to attach my wires to. It makes it a lot easier. If there's something here so that when you get the wire close to it, it's got something to grab onto quickly. Okay. There is a dot of solder there. This will also help you see. I know that it's hard for me to pick this whole thing up to the camera. I'll be able to manage that. But this will help you see exactly where these contact points are, because we'll have some wires on them. One of the secrets to soldering is to melt it and get it on there. The second secret is to hold it there long enough for the solder to cool. Too often, you move it away too quickly and then it doesn't make a good solid solder. So now we're doing this dot, which is identified as TP33. If we're keeping track. Okay, we do have a dot of solder on it now. And I didn't leave myself quite enough room in this cable for the work activity. Grab my reverse tweezers and put it into place. Okay. Good. So one of the tests of a good solder, especially on a circuit board like this, if I can switch things and dance it around without it breaking it off, it's pretty confident it'll hold up. Okay, so that's the one side. I can actually now reinstall this board, which is probably a good idea. It went here. Stress under that battery. Here. And here. Got it. Okay. And I'm going to put the screws back in to hold that circuit board in place. Okay. So now pushing things back to this other side. See if I can dance this over. We want to make sure that this wire is good in a good place. Let's put this one through. I have enough on it. And oh, by the way, you see this black wire here? Clicking it with my finger. There's a little receiver, little place for it to go. And I'll put it back in there. It goes right there. When you look at that, you think, oh my gosh, where does it go? I broke a wire or I cut something or whatever. No, you didn't. That is that's radio frequency wire. That is how these toys talk to each other. Okay. So That's good to go right there. I'm thinking this is gonna end up being kind of short, but I need to be able to manage this outside of this circle of movement. See it. That'll work. I can come over the top. Let's do that. Okay. So, as I pointed out, the outside or the two closest to the side is where your cables, your wires go. Hide that underneath for a moment while we solder this one in place. And then, because I've got something in the way, my fingers can't get in here very well, so we'll use this. And we will now solder this one in place. I still have to take this whole thing apart. Not the whole thing, but I gotta take those wires off in order to put it back together because they're currently not running, being routed through the case like they were before. But, okay. Again, I can put the toy up by that solder point. I'm happy with it. We'll get two of my off-screen switches. And let's plug this in and turn the power back on with this lever. Oh, that should, I guess that came on. Okay, let's just slide right in. So we have the two functions that are going to do. There's the record function, which is not that button. Oh, it is, okay. Record with it. Interrupting the record function, now I'm doing the dial. So I think because we don't have the back of that speaker.
Record and remix when my microphone turns.
Okay. So now it's satisfactorily adapted. Got to put it all back together. If you're happy with being able to figure out how to put it back together, you can turn off the recording and go to work. Thank you very much. If you want to watch the nuances for making sure it's back together, then hang with me here. I need these three wires that I've got here that I just connected. I have to disconnect them again. They have to go through that hole. So let's get them off the board. One. The speaker doesn't have to come on. There's just got plenty of room for it to go. Let's see. Come on. Doesn't have to come off. I'm having a little trouble getting this one to come apart. Come on. I wonder if maybe I'd be smarter to go and release and try and release that. Where it's grabbing the box. There we go. Patience. Here's the thing. Okay. So what was we gonna do to put this back together? The speaker goes here. It has a kind of a fit receptacle it goes into. That yellow wire. This yellow wire goes to a switch that's here. And that switch is, has to be depressed for it to be in display mode at the store. When you take it out of the box, you actually remove a retainer that comes out and releases that switch. But I have determined that if you take that, if you cut it and try and just throw it away, it keeps it in, it being gone, keeps this toy in display mode. So you have to either put it back or find a way of working with it without it there. I wonder. Oh, before I put it together. Now that I've got the. Now that I've got the. I've got cable management. Cable management, on my strain reliefs. Let's get that strain relief up in here. It's snugly into. Okay, I'm gonna call that satisfied again. All right, so what I was pointing out is if we have our component here, I believe that I can set this together. Manage that cable because it was just got pinched in the screw there. I can set this together and put these on from outside the wall that are outside the apartment. This is the front, it goes this way. The white wire connector goes back there. Good. The red connector goes here. Good. Power comes in from the back side and goes here. Let's see. This may be a backwards. Goes right there. Close, but I can't quite get it to drop in. No, got it. Okay. We can snap this back in place. And this is for those. Oh, wait, before we do that. Those two screws, that we had to take the support to gain access to are right here. Let's get those in. Okay. The next thing is this, which snap over. Couple of slots here. 1, 2. And then the on-off switch. I've kind of torqued this whole thing around a little bit. We're going to turn this on and verify with our buttons. Yes,
Record and remix.
okay,
Record and remix. When my mic.
so it's still functioning. That goes on. Oops, before we put that on, there again, we forgot something. It is this headband or handle or whatever. It was setting in here. It has a dot that's up. And so it cannot go down. It also needs to have the smooth round part towards the front, so it's a given as to how it goes back on. And now we can set this on, and again, making sure that that button's in there. Let's see, I've got one screw already here. Closes that up. And closes this to hold it shut. Okay. And then the hair. Okay, so there's that toy adapted. There's several more screws that I need to put back in, but verify that it looks a lot like what we started with. Turning it back on. Again, the factory buttons work.
Record and remix. When my microphone
And-
turns red.
And the adaptive switch adaptive buttons work. Okay, and so this is where we entered this toy to keep everything easy to do for the adapter. Okay, thank you very much. You enjoy my videos. I know that the content is fairly dry, but it's instructive. And if you want to subscribe, I'd appreciate that. Hit the like down there. I appreciate that also. It encourages me. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.